I've had this rant floating around my head for a few years at this point, and I put bits and pieces of it into other videos, but I feel like it's time for me to put everything to paper. So, Blister. She's one of the three SandWing sisters, Blister, Blaze, and Burn. Aside from having names starting with B, all three of them represent a virtue that starts with B: beauty, bronze, and brains. Blaze is the beauty, which fits well with every dragon calling her glamorous and her obsession with jewelry. Burn is the bronze. She's a powerhouse of a dragon and is very large. That makes Blister the brains. Throughout the story, we are constantly told that Blister is smart. She's described as being the intelligent one. Glory justifies her wanting to be queen genuinely with her being smart, and therefore her being better than the other two. Except Blister isn't that smart. Let's go over it. Real quick before we get started, if you are new to this channel, please think about subscribing. I regularly post both Wings of Fire and Warrior Cats content, so you'll never be bored. And to my current subscribers, thank you so much for supporting me. I wouldn't have gotten here without y'all. Without further ado, let's go over her grand schemes. The first known scheme was to kill Blaze, her little sister. At the time, Blaze was 2 or 3 years old. Blister and Burn left one of her tiaras outside the palace whilst a sandstorm was approaching and told her where it was. Then, of course, Blaze went to go fetch it. This is a pretty basic plan, but it almost worked. Blaze was constantly wandering off, so the teachers didn't look for her, as her being gone was not outside of her regular pattern of behavior. They assumed that she would be in the treasury or somewhere else. The sandstorm also made for a good distraction, as everyone was too worried with the sandstorm to be looking out for the small dragon. Six Claws and Dune did find it strange that Blaze was missing though, and they eventually found her outside the palace on the dunes. They rescued her in the nick of time and brought her back to the palace. After Six Claws rescued Blaze, Blister felt enraged at him. She wanted to send him on dangerous missions so he would die. King Char stepped in, however, and recruited Six Claws and Dunes to the army. However, did she try and continue on with her plans and try something different in case he becomes a problem in the future? No, she doesn't. Instead, she lets him be. She could have poisoned him or something else, but instead she gave up easily. Show some drive! Of course, it takes a lot of effort to just kill one dragon, so giving up on the plan isn't out of the ordinary. But she later does give up on some plans which could have worked out, so it establishes a pattern of behavior for her. Skip forwards a few years and Queen Oasis wakes up in the middle of the night to her treasury being raided by scavengers. She asks Blister to go get Burn so they can hunt down the scavengers, and Blister doesn't do so. Oasis is unexpectedly overwhelmed by the scavengers, leading to her death. The wiki describes this as Blister tricking her into fighting alone. This is a ridiculous notion, as it makes it seem like it was Blister's plan to have the scavengers kill her. In the world of Wings of Fire, scavengers are not considered threats to dragons. It is completely reasonable for a dragon to take on several scavengers at once, especially a grown dragon, as seen with Queen Scarlet's introduction where she kills 2 scavengers. There was no way for her to possibly foresee the outcome of Oasis dying. It wasn't a grand plan by Blister, it was just dumb luck. Blister did do something smart after that. She stole all of the royal SandWing treasure. However, she didn't find the Eye of Onyx, the one thing that she needed in order to become queen. After Oasis's death, Blister fled the fortress and decided to seek out allies. She went to the Sea Kingdom for allies first. No offense, but the Sea Wings, she had her pick and choose of the tribes besides for the Ice Wings, as Blaze had already claimed them, and she chose the Sea Wings. The Sea Wings were her second worst possible choice for allies. First of all, they don't have fire. And this is a minor point, but her webbed talons likely aren't good for handling spears, as they likely risk tearing their webs accidentally or getting splinters in them. They're also the slowest flyers on Pyria alongside the Mudwings, making it difficult for them to make it to, say, the Ice Kingdom to fight Blaze's forces, or going to the Ice Kingdom to try and track Blaze down. The Sea Wings also don't have a lot of skin in the game. They don't even live on the continent of Pyria. They live in the water. They don't need land to live. Therefore, if they really wanted to, they could just disappear and leave Blister ally list, as they did later when the Summer Palace was bombed. If there was one advantage to choosing the Sea Wings, it was that their queen was easily influenced by Blister. Blister was able to convince their queen, Queen Coral, that she was trustworthy by calling her a genius and complimenting her books, pretty much just playing to her ego. Because Queen Coral's a vain dragon, she was willing to give everything to Blister. The smartest thing Blister did when it came to her allies in war was allying with the Nightwings. However, there was one major flaw to her plan in my opinion. She didn't make it public. The Nightwings were regarded as the prophets of Peria, even if the Nightwings didn't lend anyone to fight for her. Them simply saying that they supported her would lend a lot of credence to the idea of her becoming queen, because if the seers, the people who can literally see the future, support her, there's no way she won't become queen, right? However, as I said about the Sea Wings, the Nightwings didn't really have skin in the game. They could have kept the invasion of the rainforest separate from the war. They were already researching into ways to invade the rainforest on their own. They could have used Stone Mover, they could have used Mastermind's armor that he was developing, etc., and invaded it all by themselves. The Nightwings also later fully left Blister when the island exploded. That meant by the end of the war, Blister only had her SandWing soldiers left. Blaze had the majority support from SandWings, and Burn had the SandWing homeland, meaning that Blister likely had very few SandWings. Due to her choosing allies that could just up and leave her with no consequences, she had an army on death's doorstep by the end of the war. Her army had pretty much been decimated. So in the end, she literally had no choice except to accept the challenge between Blaze, Blister, and Burn. So when it comes to the ending of the Brightest Night, she literally had no choice except to go on her own to confront her two sisters. If she did have a comprehensive army, she could have made a smart move. She could have, when everyone was distracted at the stronghold, decided to just surround them with her army and kill everyone there. That would have led to the elimination of Blaze and Burn, possibly the Dragonets of Destiny, and all the other queens there, allowing her to possibly dominate the entire continent. However, she wasn't smart enough to think about doing that, and she just didn't have the manpower in order to. Let's move several years forward to when she met the Dragonets of Destiny at the Summer Palace. When she first met them, she tried flattery as she had done with Queen Coral. I feel like this might have worked, especially her comment to Glory about the Skywings being overrated. Glory's scales are described as turning a dark pink, which might be a sign of suppressed excitement, as pink is a sign of excitement in reigning scales. However, when it came time to talk about fulfilling the prophecy, she was a bit too pushy. She also revealed a bit too much about what she knew about the Dragonets themselves, saying that she knew there wouldn't be a Skywing and that she knew that Kestrel's throat was slashed. Blister failed to make an ally out of the dragons who would be the most likely to win her the war, because she couldn't turn down the creep factor for one moment and because she couldn't keep her mouth shut. A smart person knows how to shut up and hold a secret. And finally, let's go to her final scheme, the death of Burn. The plot was simple. She put 2 Dragonbite Vipers in a box instead of 1. She hoped that Burn would find the first one and the second one would bite her. This was a dumb plan, as it would be easy for it to go wrong. What if the Dragonbite Vipers starved to death? What if they caught heat stroke in transport or got dehydrated and died? Maybe she got overnight shipping, but what if Burn recognized there were 2 of them, as the second one didn't hide in the box for some weird reason, or their hissing overlapped? Blister also literally announced her evil plan out loud as it was happening. If Burn had a slightly faster reaction time, she could have caught the second Viper and killed it, leaving Blister without a plan and open to being murdered. Murdering your sister underhandedly using an outside weapon goes against the spirit of the challenge for the throne, which might make your subjects dislike you as they consider you dishonorable. This is especially a problem if a large number of your subjects just spent the last 2 decades literally fighting you. The Dragonbite Vipers also escaped into the crowd. This could lead to more dragons dying, further sinking your reputation. Though this did not happen, one of the Dragonets of Destiny was injured. The Dragonets of Destiny are seen as literal messiahs, and you just caused one of them to have a permanent limp. Not a good look. So this plan was incredibly short-sighted and full of obvious flaws. And as far as we know, she had no backup measures in case it went wrong. An obvious backup measure would be to bring in a secondary weapon. She would have known that this could happen in a challenge due to what happened between Orca and Coral. Maybe she could have poisoned her claws or something like that. Maybe she actually did, but we were never told of it. After Blister took care of Burn, she went to go and kill her other sister, Blaze, the old-fashioned way. While she was fixated on killing her sister, Thorn and Sunny retrieved the Eye of Onyx from the corpse of Oasis. Blister ranted that she was the smartest dragon in Peria, which she wasn't, and went to go and grab the Eye of Onyx. It then electrocuted her to death. There was no way she could have foreseen this, as the details of the enchantment were lost to time. But when it comes to her other plans, there were definitely a lot of things she could have foreseen and taken into account in order to help her plans to run much more smoothly. In conclusion, Blister isn't that smart of a dragon. We are constantly told how smart she is, but that's all that happens. We are told, but it is never shown. Her plans are flawed and short-sighted. When they fail, she often gives up right after and doesn't pursue matters further. Writing genius characters who are actually genius is a hard move, especially since characters can only act as far as the author can think. It's a well-established rule in writing, but I feel like Blister isn't just a failed smart character who makes no sense. She is straight up stupid. But what's your opinion on Blister? Is she smart or is she not? Comment down below. If you like this video, feel free to subscribe. I make Wings of Fire and Warrior Cats videos pretty often, and your support means a lot to me. And to those who are already subscribed, thank you for your continued support. I wouldn't have gotten here without y'all. Peace, Rogan out.